Okay folks, welcome back. So what I'm going to do in this video is just give you guys, I know a few of you guys are building this. This isn't a complicated machine to build. The sizes could be varied, so I know some of you guys are building your own right now. And what I'm going to do is give you some quick tips on how to align this thing and make sure that it's set up right. That was one of the things that I had issues was getting it lined up and getting it cutting even from side to side. So what I'm going to do now is grab the camera and I'm going to set up a few scenarios here to show you some tricks that I learned to set this thing up. So the first thing you're going to want to make absolutely sure of is that when you drill these holes for the pivot point on the bottom, make sure that they're perfectly in the right spot. If you don't, it'll make it out of whack. And that's why you see there's two holes on mine. Well, when I drilled mine, I wasn't as fussy as I should have been, and one was about, it was pretty near 1/8 of an inch out from side to side, and it was causing it to be out of whack. So make sure that you get them in exactly the right spot, and make sure that you keep everything nice and square and nice and tight. You're going to want to make sure that when you cut these pieces, make sure that everything is coming out consistent, and then make sure that this piece that slides down in between, that you don't have any play in there. You want this a real snug fit. And what I did was I actually sprayed the inside. I ran out of spray silicone, which would be the best to spray it with, but then I just sprayed it with silicone, or with WD-40, sorry, and it seems to be, it loosened it up real good, and it's working real good. It's sliding nice and easy. So then, and the same thing, make sure that your bunks are, everything's nice and straight and nice and flat, and then it's a matter of getting your router and this slide mechanism setting up nice and straight on this, and you can do that by measuring it from side to side and make sure it's absolutely straight, and then get everything running nice and straight. And one of the things I did with my router to make sure it was running straight, and it looks like it's running crooked now, but it's not, is I actually put a 1/2 inch bolt in this that was really long, and then what I was able to do is extend a block from the side of this slide, and then I was able to check the distance and make sure that it was running straight on this set of slides. And then the same thing with the height. I was able to run a board across and check the height to make sure it was running straight that way. And then I could transfer that pretty easy by, all I did was take my block here and just transfer it directly into the other side, hold it nice and even with the end of this set of slides, and then I just put a different bit in there that had that came to a point, and I just ran it out and put the little point on the end so that then I could transfer it right back, put my screws in, make sure everything was nice and even. Then I just, this bearing is actually just put on with a wood screw, as you can see. So pretty straightforward, just a regular router bit bearing, but it is a 3/4 inch one. And I could change my bearing sizes by just, just with a different, I could put a different size one on there. So I'm going to set up another scenario to show you how I check this thing for square as well. So the way I was able to set up my bench heights here from side to side is I actually just used a piece of plywood that was perfectly straight, and then all I had to do was lift up my router system, you see, and then just put this on, and that would, if I set that down, it would come down flush on the table from both sides. Get this in here, and then that way there, my tables will come out. It'll be flat along here, which my router will be sitting flat, and then that'll bring my table flat from each side. So I just did that. I cut two pieces exactly the same width and long enough to go from each side, and then that way there I could set my table height off of that. So pretty straightforward. And then it was the same thing with setting my fence height. I just ran one in like this and then ran it up to my fence. But I used a narrower one on my fence. I actually went from the front edge here, as you can see. I just put a straight edge along the front and ran it back until it butted up against my fence on both sides, and then that made my fence run straight off of both sides, so you can see. So just a way to line it up that way. So another thing that I did was, I'll just keep the video rolling, is rather than trying to, when you go to do this, you're going to make, I already got a template made. This is one to do mortise and tenon on the end of a 2x6. But if you get a 2x6 and look at it, a 2x6 is not going to be flat. It's going to be cupped. It's going to be 2x6 is a poor thing to use, and that's what I was finding. When I started, I made this template, and I was sure my template was perfect, but it seemed like every 2x6 would come out a little bit different. And then I really started to inspect them by putting a straight edge on them, and I could see that, oh, that 2x6 bowed, that 2x6 is, you know, twisted a little bit, and they weren't coming out consistent. So what I did to start testing my machine to really fine-tune it is to cut a couple of blanks the exact same size, and put a square blank in one side, and put its copy in the other side, and then I could run around this perfectly square piece, and then if it was cutting accurate, it would do the exact same cut on the other side. And what I always found with this machine, even with my other one, is my copies come out just a hair smaller than my blank, so I had to take into account it's probably about a millimeter or two smaller, but it's all the way around, so it's easy to compensate for. So that's what these were. These were my test ones, and you can see that, you know, at the end I was getting it cutting nice and consistent. It was, you know, so close that it wasn't funny. So that's a good tip right there. Rather than trying to use like a piece of lumber that's inconsistent, make sure you mill something up that's perfectly square, then cut it in half and use one side for a template and the other side as your test. And then if it trims it like it did this, then you'll know that your machine is set up accurate. If you do, when you get it going, then you'll be able to tell that, oh, you know, this side is cutting a little bit low, it's making it a little bit low, then you'll be able to adjust it from side to side, whatever you have to adjust it. So there's just a few tips. Now that, you know, you guys, it seems like you guys want to see how to make this now, I'm pretty confident that this is a pretty good working machine. Now I'll start and we'll do some videos up, take it apart and get a measuring tape on it, and I'll give you the sizes of this one here, and you know, you guys might want to adjust it some, or maybe you might want to build it exactly the same. So, but that'll give you the opportunity to anyway. So, hopefully you guys have fun watching, hopefully you learned something too, hopefully you'll keep tuning in, and I thank you for watching this video.